say thank you for having me. It's an honor for me to be here and to speak in front of you all. Forgive me, I am a little tired. It was a long ride, so I'll do my best. I have nothing prepared. I'm here to speak from my heart, and that's what it is. With regard to the SAFE Act, what first got my attention was how it was passed. It was done under the cover of darkness. There was no real thought put into it, in my opinion. And I would just like to add, I am here as an individual. Individual rights is what it's all about. I wasn't always a cop. I'm not always going to be one. It's more important that we, as a group, as a nation, stand up and fight for what's right. Because if we don't, it's all going to disappear. Little by little, our Constitution has been whittled away, and if we don't do something about it, it's just going to disappear. And without the Second Amendment, and this is my belief, how else do we actually defend the Constitution? Following the sheriff is kind of a big deal for me. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. It takes a lot of courage to get up here and say what he said in his position. I find that motivating, and part of what I'm hoping to accomplish is that by me being here and actually speaking out, that somehow gives other police officers the courage to stand up and speak out and do what's right. I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that the majority of police, law enforcement out there are doing the right thing. I know I am. I can speak for myself. I've made it very clear to my supervisors that, and this is where I put my neck out on the line, that I would absolutely refuse to enforce anything that had anything to do with the SAFE Act. Most importantly, it's how it was done. It was just neglect. There was no forethought. And if I'm not mistaken, Sheriff, you can correct me, they forgot to exempt police officers from the limits in magazines. I think not only that, but I think we weren't allowed to carry on school grounds. That was another thing that they forgot to exempt us from. And if it was a true message of necessity, why did none of it take effect until 6 months later? If I'm not mistaken, there was a period of time that went by before any of it took effect. I'm not here to speak about statistics and numbers. I don't have all that information in front of me. But what I would like to share with you are a few personal experiences, which, with regard to gun violence, working in an inner city environment, I've been involved in numerous situations where I was fighting with individuals who were armed. A few people I almost had to take their lives. And to this day, just like the sheriff spoke about his deputies, I still see no good in the SAFE Act. None of what has been made into law now would have stopped or prevented what happened in my dealings with these criminals. Either you're a good person doing the right thing, or you're bad and you're doing the wrong thing. No matter what weapon of choice you have in your hand, if you're a bad person with bad intentions, you're going to do something bad. And one of my favorite quotes is, the only way to combat a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. Now, if we as a police are afforded that ability and opportunity and those tools to protect ourselves and other people, why aren't you all? Why can I have 15 rounds in my magazine and you can't? There's a huge hypocrisy there. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I want to say the majority of the people that I work with don't agree with it, are opposed to it. Not many are willing to do what I'm doing and stand up and speak out against it. I'm putting a lot out on the table. By doing what I'm doing right now, there's always a possibility that I could be reprimanded, have a letter written, put in my file, suspended, fired, because I'm not going with the program. And I have said all along, if I can't do the right thing as a police officer, and that's to serve the public, I work for the people, I don't work for politicians. Yes, there's a chain of command, I have bosses, I work for a municipality, but if my job is to protect and serve, and first and foremost, uphold the Constitution, and all I'm doing is obeying orders, and those orders are to enforce something that's unconstitutional, then I don't want to be a police officer. I don't want to do it. So I'll continue doing what I do out there. I can't speak for the other police officers out there, the deputies, and I know a lot of them. I know a lot of deputies, I know a lot of, state police officers, and most of which have the same opinion I do. And again, what I'm hoping is that by speaking out and saying, hey, look, if we all stand up and do it together and fight for what's right, well, they can't fire all of us, I guess they could, but there's strength in numbers, and I'm hoping that by me doing this, it's going to kind of give some courage to maybe a little incentive or motivation to others to maybe do the same thing. One other thing I wanted to say, and with regard to our governor and his message of necessity and that executive action in passing and pushing through the SAFE Act, and a lot of people use the horrible murders that took place at Sandy Hook. The only thing I'm going to speak about with that is that my personal involvement in that later. I'm also a motorcycle officer. I took part in one of the funeral escorts for one of the little girls that was murdered, and kind of get a little choked up with it. But for any of the conspiracy theorists out there, and people that say, oh, that was all just made up hoax to try and take everybody's guns away, I was there. I spoke with police that were on scene, emergency personnel. I escorted, along with other motor officers, we did multiple escorts for a lot of these children. And I looked into the eyes of this one particular little girl's parents and offered my condolences. And it was heartbreaking to say the least, but even with that being said and done, I still had to take a look at, after the SAFE Act was passed, and I said to myself, nothing in the SAFE Act, had it been passed in Connecticut, if any of that legislation would have prevented that horrific event from occurring. And all it does is it goes after people like you and I, who are out there trying to do the right thing and support the Constitution, being patriotic Americans, law-abiding citizens. All it does is it has a negative effect on us. And I'm not about, firearms that I own, personal property, that I might want to pass down to my son. And if these things are registered and I pass away and somebody's going to come knocking on my door and taking those rifles or handguns away, I don't think that's what it was meant to be. I don't think that's the way it was meant to be. So my parting words are just keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting the fight. I'm going to, I can promise you that. I know I'm just one police officer out there, but I'd like to, if I can convey anything, that I just want to let you all know that there are many more like me out there. There's nothing special about me other than I believe in the oath that I took, and that I will till the day that I die. And God bless you all, and thanks for having me.